My mama lied. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Welcome, Jackson, Mississippi, in the United States. To make it make sense, I am your co-host, Keanu Perry, aka Young Man, alongside your host,
Tariq Abdul-Tawwab. I'm sorry, the proud old intro host, but Tariq Abdul-Tawwab.
and you know the new intro host. I'm working on getting this back.
Man, you're there, brother. You're showing up. That's what working on it is, brother.
Yeah.
Showing up, yeah, man. You're doing excellent.
But you know, welcome back to the. What is this?
This is our fourth day. Yes, sir. See, we were used to 3-day weeks. Now we if you don't know, this is week 2 of us bringing you Make It Make Sense Jackson 5 days in a row. Unprecedented. I used to say for the city, but I think for the state, and I don't think just African American industry. I think all over. But yeah, this is day 4. On Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, we come to you live from the historic 90.1 WNPR. And then Thursdays and Fridays, we're at the esteemed We Believe Digital right here at 5:30 p.m. We had some static there, but our engineers on it, and it is done. But keep going. Yeah,
so
man.
that means if you miss a show,
yeah,
you got time to catch up. And speaking of catch up, Tariq, why don't you give the folks who may have missed a quick recap of what we went the topics the last 3 days? Or
so many different words we can use. Rundown, recap.
Yeah, you got to think about that.
Spin the block.
Yeah.
We're going through all the ages and genres of this. But yeah, so yesterday was a very good show. We continued, and we're going to talk about it more today, but we're going to also look at some other news stories. But yesterday we sat down with a former member of the late Mayor Chokwe Lumumba's, that's right, Akil Bakari team, and he gave us much more of a deep background look. The gentleman went all the way back to Dale Danks, so you can imagine, especially if you're a native Jacksonian, older Jacksonian, you can imagine the type of information that he's going back into. He touched on some things that we reposted on the site, such as the current third-party manager, Ted Hennifan's specialty is sewer in actuality, not in water, something that, many people were not aware of. I'm not saying he hasn't worked in water, but he's an actual sewer specialist is what he went into. He kind of went into how fast or how rapidly the money's been spent out of the $850 approximate million we had allocated. And then he went over the fact that when Mr. Hennifin initially came to town, as somebody that dealt directly with Mr. Hennifin from the mayoral administration standpoint, he just said that there was just a much, how did he put it? He said he didn't want to say, if you remember, he said, I don't want to say that he's changed. I just want to say that there was a much more amicable relationship when he first came.
He was more soft tone. He was more welcome.
Welcoming almost. Absolutely. So go watch that. You got to go to our YouTube page. We go live on our page, every day. But we usually will put up clips, but if you want to see the whole show, just go to our YouTube page. That's Make It Make Sense Jackson. It's always JXN, or come back here to We Believe Digital, and you'll be able to see any repeats here as well. But yeah, KP, that was yesterday. Anything else that I missed from yesterday? It was some things that I wanted to get into, and some of you all called about that on the headline I'll start with. But I think yesterday we just touched on at the beginning of the day. We did touch on, so let me look at it. We talked about, I'm going to go to that next, but we talked about, let's just back up for a moment, right? And those folks that may not have been with us all week, you don't want to just jump in like they might have been here Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So this month as a city, we're all pretty upset that amidst all of the things that we've gone through, and slow it down and rewind. And I'm talking about going back to Chief Wade resigning time, right? To Assistant Grizel, then saying I'm being forced out, to wherever you stand, I'm going back to that time, to Chief Owens, retiring, and then a captain being put in his place, right? Through all of these moves, right? Before the legislative session came up, right? Things were Jackson was struggling in certain places to try to get our footing, right? And then we talked about, when Mayor Horn came into office, and we talked about some of the switch ups that happened when Mayor Horn came into office, some of the change of heart. It used to be a show, young man, when we were young called Change of Heart. and a couple would go on the show, and they would both get to, they talk about whatever they didn't like about the other person. At the end, they had like a piece of paper, and they had to write whether they had a change of heart or whether they wanted to stay together. And they would hold the paper, and then you flip it. So one person could be like, stay together. The other person like, change your heart, and you're embarrassed on national TV. That's I don't know why I went that far, but that's the name of the show. But it's almost like our mayor had at best that change of heart. At worst, some from the talk show realm like us would say, let's check some bank accounts, right? Because we watched a lot of changes happen, but not to get hung up in that. The point we were touching on yesterday was the fact that the legislative session, when Mayor Horn came into office and talked about his relationships across the aisle, right? Which again, we as citizens, we want to see it work for us. This is going to be what separates me from these other mayoral candidates, especially your current mayor. That was Mayor Lamont at the time. So you made office. We're looking for these relationships across the aisle to work for us. And that's the theme of this week, ladies and gentlemen of Jackson. The relationship of the aisle. We also talk about Piney Wood and the Epi-Steppy. Young people call it the Epi-Steppy, but the Piney Woods and the Epstein, popping up in Epsteins, and we'll go into that. But the legislative session essentially is where those friends across the aisle come in for Jackson. So if you're not that, if you're not a politic person, that is where one of the places where your friends across the aisle would come in. And across the aisle means John Horn's Republican friends, right? That wasn't, usually people are ashamed of it. Like, you have a drug dealing friend and you don't want to tell people he's a drug dealer. That's usually how you are as a Democrat. But this John Horn and others like Eric Adams, these are plantation Democrats, not an insult. And if you go to our webpage, if you don't understand the definition of plantation Democrat, is somebody especially harmful when they're African-American from the Democratic Party that consistently sides, collaborates, and pushes policies of the far-right GOP. And what a lot of folks in the United States don't understand, black folks, is that Mayor Horn is here pushing policies with Jeff Good and the downtown Jackson partner, and a lot of them are pushing far-right Republican policies. So we don't even have to talk about whether we like Jeff Good, whether we like this little Curious George setup we see running around Jackson with Jeff Good and John Horn following behind him. And you see it, hurts me to look at it. I don't care how you feel about me saying it, hurts me to see it. Every time Jeff Good wants to roll out something that happened, John just sits off there to the side like he's waiting for something. I'm going to stop there because we're in a place of too many implications can hurt ourselves. But you got to call what you see and say the emperor doesn't have any clothes on. And next thing you know, we're going to be doing the same thing. So I think that you've got to understand when you're looking from the outside in that what policies are coming out of this administration that are Democratic. An ordinance to ask to put our children to work at the age of 14, for people to come get them and come have them go to work. The 17 schools shut down. So we certainly can't think outside the box enough with he's got a judge as his chief. I'm sorry. It's just insulting to you all. It's hard to keep going with sometimes. He's got a judge as his chief of staff. When you talk about people that understand how to put a plan together.
You said Horn has a...
Yes, Terwilson is a judge.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, he's a judge.
I'm
mad that you forgot.
I didn't know.
But I mean, you wouldn't tell by, and listen, respectfully, I've been at places in my life where people have pointed and said, I couldn't tell you what you're supposed to be. So when I say this about my brothers, it's in hopes that they do better. But you wouldn't tell Terwilson as a judge because he never speaks up in a way that you think would come from someone that sat on the bench. Right. And even calm the public. First off, when Hennepin said, all of you all don't pay your bills, all of you black people don't pay your bills, it would have been wrong if he dwindled it down to a certain area. That's not what he did. He said, I don't need it. And remember what he said, Dorian? He said, I don't care. They started booing in the back. Oh, yeah. Whatever. And so you have to understand what type of disrespect we're talking about. No one is responding to from there. But yeah, he's got educated folks on there. And for some reason, not to beat the horse because I want to get back to what we're talking about, but for some reason, they don't pop up. Anyways, the point that I'm talking about is the legislative session, right? That's where your friends across the aisle are supposed to come in when you ask for money for Jackson, and we do get it or don't get it. The legislative session, right? Christmas tree spending is when $250 million are earmarked or just set to the side just for local projects within the state. Now, if you're good with the other side, right? If you want that funny money, which John Horn openly bragged about getting his hands on, I can get that funny money, which we knew here at Make It Make Sense because we told you about Chip Triplett, who works for Parks Companies, who slumlord many buildings right here in Jackson and throughout Mississippi, straight slumlord conditions. And he gave money to then Senator Horn. So we always had our eyes on this relationship from Blossom Apartments. Am I right or wrong? We knew Mayor Horn wasn't going to do nothing at Blossom Apartment, and we were surprised at the 5 days he got them. But we knew he was going to do nothing representative of his background as the chairman of HUD.
Yeah, I mean, ever since they put him on the North Side Sun article, when Republicans pointed him as the next mayor of Jackson, and it's like, why do Republicans care about who's the mayor of Jackson when Jackson is predominantly
Democratic? Say it, yeah, absolutely. And you had Ashby Foote, who openly said, I don't think he cares, but about what we think as a majority here. But Ashby Foote openly said, I'm running as an independent so I can sway the Democratic mayoral election. And then he and the North Side Sun, Wyatt Eric, or Wyatt is his first name of the writer, openly employed. It was one of the most. Listen, the fact that Northside Sun let this out is crazy. Because when you talk about newspapers, let's pause and talk about because WLBT just received an award for a news station of the year. You got to be kidding me. This is called Change Clothes and Go. I don't know if you heard that song, but you talking about a station that just 40 quick years ago was discredited for not reporting on the civil rights, and maybe 60 years for not reporting accurately on civil rights. Meaning when people were doing things hurtful to black people, they weren't telling about it.
No.
And now all they put on their site about Jackson and other black areas are shootings. If you want to find out something about money being allocated, about schools closing, anything of that nature, you have to go to the Clarion Ledger here. How does a newspaper like that, who doesn't even listen to what I'm saying, American, I hope those that jumped on, especially from our page, and those local as well. But listen, this is important. This is important. How can WLBT win the award when they don't run the story first 30 to 40% of the time? You in the news, this is when black people have to be, got to be like, you reach out and tap them, KP. This is when we got to start alienating, putting them on an island. Black people in the TV industry. If you work for WLBT, okay, I can understand it. You may want to send it with a carrier pigeon, call it with a muffled voice. I understand you not calling to say, yeah, this is such and such for WLBT and we suck. I'm not asking you to do that. But if you're in the TV industry, I need you to jump on the chat, call your cousin in California and explain to me how a TV can win for the best TV, which it's supposed to be reporting. So it means the only way they should win is if they're the on the edge reporting station, which means they give you all the news first. I could tell you hundreds of occasions, if not 20s of occasions, where something happens. We've done it on our show where we've talked about it, where something comes. Now, usually it's something that somebody somewhere doesn't want the black population to know. Nonetheless, that's my opinion. But something will come out such as a private school is getting $500,000 or something, right? And Jackson may only be getting $50,000. You don't see it in any paper, but you go to Clarion Ledger, which again, unless you're leaving your house and going to buy it, you got to pay the subscription fee. WLBT is free.
Yeah.
But how can a station that does not report first, it doesn't even pretend to, win a prize? Oh, if you report the most shootings, I can see how they win. Regardless of how much it actually happens, if this prize is solely on reporting violent and gory details in WLBT, you definitely win. Because I've often said, I think you are the shooter sometimes, and I'm being funny.
Yeah, Payne Jackson is the most violent.
Absolutely. I think WLBT, they are the shooter sometimes. They know so quickly. They'll know before the person got shot knew sometimes. You got shot. What is the WLBT doing with the bike? Who did it? How did you know this was about to happen? And I'm being facetious, but the point I'm making is you know about every shooting that ever happened. But a school voucher bill passes and they're looking to the left like, well, if you have $14.95, go on to Clarion Ledger, go and pay that, and they may have it in it. And you win the award, that's today's Mississippi. So if you're a black reporter, and thank you, we got to have some courage to say this. If you're a black reporter, you're part of the accessory to the crime, unless maybe you sent your, what do they call it, anonymous note to somebody else. Send it to us. Make it make sense, Jackson@gmail.com, JXN. And we receive them. Run by the studio and just throw it at us on a piece of paper. I promise we'll understand. And I really mean that. But if you are someone that claims to be for your people and you're in Mississippi and you see WLBT with the past they have, win the prize, you got to be kidding me. But I bet you'll say something about them young people, won't you? I bet you got something to say about it. I bet they out there shooting. That's the problem. WLBT won a prize. Well, they only didn't talk about when the KKK murdered people, and they kept it really quiet when black people were hurt in Mississippi. I can look the other way there. Maybe they'll do an interview on me later. Those are the people telling our young people to have courage. I wouldn't have courage either if you're the one telling me to.
Just like another situation where you remember, and I'm going to connect this to the Chief Brackney. She's having these meetings now.
Yes, sir.
You remember how they was blocking the comments on the page?
Yes, sir. We put that up on a post. So folks to see it.
Now she's having meetings for the public. The first meeting was on the 14th.
That's right. That's right.
On George
There's one tonight, as a matter of fact.
One tonight. Yep. So that being said, Thursday, April 16th, 6 p.m. That's in a couple minutes. Am I wrong? No,
you are not wrong.
Christ United Church Fellowship Hall, 6,000 Old Cannon Road. Y'all up. What was her previous contract got pulled when she was not allowed to host meetings, I think.
And initially started when they were trying, they were trying to offer her a deal where with the contract that got pulled, she would not be able to seek outside contracts with anyone. And it seemed to be both paid or non-paid because they had to give her permission to even interact with nonprofit organizations.
So she had less control.
Reach, impact, control. Well, were you reading the rest
Oh, okay,
of
I thought you were still going. My
it?
fault.
I'm coughing. I'm sorry.
There's another one on Thursday, April 30th, 6 p.m. Stronger Hope Church, 223 Beasley Road, 2023, 223 Beasley Road. What am I talking about? Friday, another one, May 1st, 9 a.m. Greater Blair Street, AME Zion Church, 1106 Blair Street. And another one, Tuesday, May 5th, 6 p.m. Peggy Hobson Calhoun Community Center, 4331 Willow Wood Boulevard. Total of that's 5 meetings.
And whatever you do there, please ask her, because again, we don't know. Sometimes in police station, and I always like to be very fair, you may have an individual police liaison that's deciding what goes on there socially. Generally, it's coming from the communications department, but it could be either way. Nick Lott is over the communication department in Jackson, so at least we know who to kind of put that eye on. But if you're at that meeting, and when I'm there, I'll do it. But ask her, is she aware that there's been the comments have been limited, whether it's a missing person, whether it's congratulations, whether it's cheaper. Since she's been there, comments have been limited. Before, you couldn't make comments at all. Now they've been regraded to limited. And I've had several people in the community reach out. So it's not just, I know people think I'm sitting up there typing a million miles words a minute. I can't believe I've never tried to comment on their posts. But this is not coming from just me. This came from at least 15 community members reaching out and saying it. Then I went on there, a young man and I went on there. And then at a certain point, listen, we went on air and said this for a week and a half. I want you to understand how we operate. We spoke about it, giving nobody's trying to embarrass a city that they're trying to be a part of, first off. But when you start putting our children at jeopardy, blocking lost children, blocking the comments because you don't want anyone to say, hey, Chief Brackney, how are you? Because you think somebody's going to tell her the evil things that we all see you doing or hiding, right? But we're looking at collaborating with her to try to let her do her job better and try to come together with someone who on paper is seeing the same things that we see, right? So we're trying to collaborate. You're trying to keep her from, which is your guilty conscience, whoever's making that move. That's what's causing it to happen. But we first said it for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, you have to think that's 10 shows. Over and over again, someone that knows JPD, reach out, ask them to unblock that, or to at least make a statement that there's some type of danger that's causing you to do that. Was never done. So if you're at that meeting tonight, you need to respectfully, Chief Brackney, I don't know if you know about this at all, but is there a reason? And I went to Madison, I went to Ridgeland. Now, Pearl blocked a few of theirs. You don't want to follow Pearl's trip. No. Pearl has a lot of other things they do, but no. Pearl, Madison, Ridgeland, any other than nobody blocked their comments in that way. And I'm just saying that for you. We know JPD didn't before Chief Brackney. We know, I can't prove it by going back and it's because it's blocked, but we looked at their posts all the time with no problem and never had a problem looking at the comments. So if you go there tonight, that's a good question amongst others to ask. Not a main question. The main question is, what are your plans to confront the violence in the way that you said you're going to confront it? If you're going to this meeting, go look on our page and look at the video we posted, and you'll see a picture of Roland Martin simply because that was the only mainstream platform that interviewed her. She came from Charlottesville during the national, where the guy ran his car into the white supremacist or racist ran his car into the person and killed them. And she was the police chief at that time, and then also broke up a strong racist ring that sounds like they might have gotten some pointers from the Goon Squad. Not as bad as Mississippi, but like they might have got some pointers from the Goon Squad. And some pointers from the Goon Squad and a little bit of tutoring from Capitol Police. That's what they sound like. But this is the ring that she broke up in Charlottesville, Virginia. Sounds like they were watching Capitol Police every time they did something disastrous and figured they'd follow them and likewise. But that's her background. But that's where this came from. A lot of people got very bothered. So I think if you're there, you should ask the question after she unrolls her plan. Is there a reason I'm being blocked from access to you?
Yeah. Well, now that you say it, that's something they should ask. One of the things they did say at the previous meeting on the 14th, they was complaining about the street racing in Georgetown. Also, they was like a lot of the young folks keeping up a lot of.
There you go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That was a lot. No, I'm agreeing with you. That's what that emotion was like. There it is. They were saying a lot of young folks was the reason a lot of violence was happening in Georgetown, and they was complaining about the street racing. But that's what was on WLBT when they spoke out.
And I know more was said. I was going to say W. That's why I was making that face because I read the article and I was like, I know who that article was. No, but as far as our community members talking about the violence, again, if you're just getting what we have said on this platform over and over again, and what we'll stand on hands down is how you confront the violence, right? Because when you're working in the areas where it's at, when you're loving people in the areas where it's at, the question is not, is violence there? The question is, how do you confront in a way? So what you see over policing is what Mayor Horn brought in, simply put. And then when it shot the violence up instead of the other way, now the problem is, so the same thing I said when I said the embarrassment of a community that leads with the children are the problem.
Right.
But when people drive through your community, they say, what are your children? Where do they work at? I see nothing. You get what I'm saying? I don't see anyone for them. You don't have a job, sir or man, right? Which is not, I'm not putting blame on us. I'm saying this is the view from the outside. There's nowhere for them to work. There's nowhere for them to play.
No.
So from the outside, when a black adult, other than a self-hating black adult, says the children's violence is the problem, it's not that violence on this level is not a problem. Lord knows we spent enough time looking at it. But what they don't say next is Strong Arms of Mississippi. They don't say next Operation Good. They don't say next Living with Purpose. They don't tell you of any organization that they know that's actually going into the places these children are seeing, committing, and experiencing the violence and doing anything to stop it. Jacksonology, young people that are trying to reach. That's the problem we have with these people. And we're here to make a separation like the Red Sea. So you no longer think that people are really trying to help when in fact they have no clue of how to help. And what murders me about administration like the one we have in is that folks can come from the state, can come from Comcast, C Spire, all these type of organizations where they're forced to think outside of the box to grow that company. Think about the people that we're talking about. They work for a company, a law firm, an organization where their mindset helped push it forward, and they'll brag to you about it too. This is the insanity. You'll have a black man tell you, well, son, I made it to the top. And then pow, 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 I don't know what's wrong with these kids. And you're looking at him like, you know what? You did make it to the top at Merrill Lynch. You turncoat mother. See, because at that point, the only thing you can think of, if you made it to the top at Merrill Lynch and you've not done one thing in your community to change it, you've got to be a turncoat. Or at best, you're a coward. At best, you're a coward. And this is the type of real talk that the fathers and grandfathers that are no longer here can't have. And therefore, these men and women that have power run around aimlessly because what are you going to compare them to? Themselves? When John Horn has a kente cloth on during Kwanzaa, and he's the griot, he's not even just there as a guard, like guarding them stuff. If he was just guarding the stuff, I could have worked with it. I probably wouldn't have said nothing. He was just opening the door, like, welcome to the Kwanzaa event. Oh, hey, man, Horn, there's seats that way, there's food that way. I would have been fine with that. You're going to make him the griot. Do you know what a griot is? The griot is the only one in that society that's there to tell you you were kings or you were slaves. The only one that's, if you don't get, let's move on. You don't get it to him, we in trouble. Tomorrow they're going to think we were chipmunks that could talk. And you're going to give that to Mayor Horn with the choices. Again, remember the plantation democracy. Every time you want to get mad and say, leave him alone, which we eradicated during the beginning of our show a year ago, right? We're talking policy. You've never heard me once talk about this man's personal life. You never once heard me talk about anybody. First off, I can't. That's not my line. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not lying to point out any personal flaws in you. You get that bounce back on me like a glass house, right? And that's not the point of this. The point is the decisions your plantation Democrat tail makes that affect us in such a negative way. And to you adults, I thought you might not have heard our show if that's you out there. That was, that don't be on and don't be in the paper saying that, because we don't say your name and put you right on the surgeon table. We're going to open you up for 30, 45 minutes. Don't get caught saying the problem is the children as the first thing that comes out your mouth. If you want to talk about the violence our children are going through and enacting on each other as a symptom of the overall problem and show some damn intelligence, then by all means, we'll back you up. But if you want to show the ignorance of your oppressor and start with the problem is our children, then you don't need to be in existence in a leadership or impactful role at all. You're a hinder to us, not a help. Exactly. You're the coward. And I'm saying that directly. The kid's not the coward. I'm 14 years old. They're shooting in my neighborhood. Me finding a gun that has a switch on it does not make me a coward at 14. Makes me unwise, makes me throwing away my future. It makes me a lot of other things, but a coward, it does not. And I know you really have no contact or no connection to what they're going through or what's happening in the streets the moment you say that makes a young man or young woman a coward.
And to coward shame them into thinking that you're going to coward shame somebody into making them do the right thing, do you think that's going to make somebody better?
That's crazy.
I mean, I don't understand how you think that's going to work.
I like that, coward shaming them. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. I love that. They're just like every time. And you know what? I'm going to take it a little further. It's beyond coward shaming, young man, and that's excellent. Not beyond. There's another thing they're doing. It's not beyond. That's exactly what's happening. But why they throw one rock, instead of stopping and waiting for it to hit, they throw 17 pebbles. Because while saying that the young people and the violence is the problem, they can neglect the fact that they've done nothing with their 40 years in office, with their 30 years in office, with their 20 years in office, with their 10 years in office. Think about any job. If you're a bricklayer and they come to where you're supposed to be laying brick and say, hey, it's 2 bricks here. What happened? Man, these kids are violent. What does that have to do with the bricks, man? Did they shoot at you every time you try to lay bricks? And do you have proof of it? This is how crazy it is with our politicians. We need more people to vote. I'm going to keep hitting this point because you got to understand that I'm not knocking anything about the love of voting. All of us have ancestors, and hopefully you know of them that have died to have certain rights. But how can the person already elected tell you the problem is people aren't voting? They're in office. You know, they're in office already. What did you do? Okay, so I get this response. I need help here. I did ABC, put forth 17 bills to try to stop what happened to us, right? I stood up, I went to jail, I got held in contempt, I got drug out of the state house. But man, I don't have no one helping me. I need y'all to vote for some other people. That's wonderful. But we haven't seen you in a month of Novembers. You ain't stood up against nothing in 4 years. You haven't said anything that would jeopardize your career. You buddy, keying it every time we see you with the Republicans at the State House. And then you turn around and be like, you all need to vote. What have you done since you've been there? Y'all got to smack him in the mouth with that. I mean, proverbially speaking, just smack hard too. Shut up. What have you done while you in there?
That's a part of the thing that we mentioned when we was like people say, is it good or bad to vote? We was like, well, if you want me to vote, you got to give me some of the stuff you did that while you
Let me tell you something. Voting is a pill that, to your point, it's a placebo pill that shut your mouth. When I say voting, you lose all reasonability and all critical thinking. You better push it out your damn head. I know church, mosque, voting, there's some things you better shut your mouth. Stop thinking before I choke the life of you, and you better listen only. And God wouldn't want you to do that. That's why I can clown idiots and clowns that take a religious perspective and tell you that they're fools. Ain't no God in the world that would take as much care with our brains, right? As much care with our choice, our ability to repent, our ability. You stupid. And when you see someone doing that, call them up. I'm the same type of pastor that's going to be in front of you with a sign saying, give everything you have away. You can't trust that type of leadership. So I don't want to get stuck on it, but I think that KP, the young man, has called it out even more, and I think we've called it out more. But you see how I started with talking about, because I want to chuckle a little bit here. Sometimes you got to laugh through the pain. And this is a little of a funnier story, but it's not funny. It's what we started with when we talk about working across the aisle. So recently we heard that Jackson got $27 million. John Horn, the city council, we got $27 million. But we jumped on there quickly that day. They probably should have waited until we was off air. We jumped on there quickly that day and said, whoop, no, we didn't. LaFleur's Bluff got $13 million. The museum got $5 million. That's 18 gone right there. That's 18 gone right there. And no one has, in Jackson, the rest of Jackson hasn't seen it yet.
You said Beasley got something too, then?
Well, yeah. So when it dwindled down, we started looking through for stuff. West Bailey, we saw Terry Road. We was looking street by street. We saw nothing. So finally, we did find something. We did find something, right? Over on Beasley. What was it? What was the name of the homeowners association? Anyway, where a lot of the mayor's administration lives, right? We saw Lake Caroline homeowners association.
Lake Caroline.
Written in there, and this is your across the aisle. So what you get your friends to put on that legislation with the Republican dominated OP here, legislator here. What you get them to put on gives you a better chance of getting something. So they didn't even ask for a basketball hoop for our children. And that's why I call you a coward if you're one of the ones that say the children first. And you may be an ignorant coward. And I was one at time in places too. And I always say that because I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you, uplift you. Because if we start saying it, seeing it, and saying it the right way, we can change these children and these babies, right? So at that point, with my friends across the aisle, I didn't ask for anything for Jackson that we could find, right? There's some roads getting fixed, which Woodrow Wilson, which most people that I've heard have said the reason that road keeps breaking up is because we haven't repaired the pipes under there. And we haven't heard anything about these 2-inch pipes that were supposed to be repaired that are part of the problem as well. But with matching funds, that's getting paved, right? With matching funds. I mean, it's not all coming out of there. The only thing we could find was $250,000 for the Pete Brown golf course, which I know a lot of them like to play at, and $100,000 for Lake Caroline. For cameras, you know what them cameras was for? Because some of the administrators over there to make once you realize what was happening. That's what them cameras are for. Once the rest of Jackson understood what Mayor Horn and the administration were doing, they need to make sure we ain't come over there, jump their fence, and they were worried that people was going to act up. That's what we're not going to do that. We're not going to stoop to that level. Jackson is not that. No, really. But that's why really think about it. That's what you asked for. We want to play golf and watch our back. That's all the elite that sit there in the administration wanted. Was $100,000 to upgrade our camera system so when the rest of these Negroes realize we done sold stuff off. And you know what the white GOP said? Negro, you ain't getting that. That's the funny part of the story.
That's what I was waiting on.
Nothing funny about nothing was asked for the majority of us. What's funny is Governor Tate said, you're not getting that. So he said no to the 250 for Pete Brown. You won't play you won't play golf. And he said no to the other one. You helped me and thank you for helping me. This is what our administration and those in power are selling us away for. Pennies on the dollar. We'll be right back to talk a little bit more about that and to get into this homeless ban and how it's affecting us now that the imported class of homeless folk are being removed from the city. Make it right back at you at Make It Make Sense Jackson.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using Socrates Garrett ENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
To reject that, which is exactly what you need to do. Welcome back to Make It Make Sense Jackson, the fastest growing show here in Mississippi and hopefully in these United States. I'm your honored host, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab, along with my esteemed co-host,
Keanu Perry,
aka KP, aka Young Man, and you are on the second half of our hour show here at We Believe Digital, Make It Make Sense Jackson. We're also here Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on 90.1, Thursdays and Fridays at We Believe Digital. Before the break, we were just literally talking about, and we were wrapping up the legislative session and what Jackson got, right?
Pete Brown.
Pete Brown golf course. You know, first we were a little bothered with what was on there. Yeah. So, you ask, you should receive. We couldn't find much on there for the rest of us. And that's a hashtag now is becoming. The rest of us are, if we're not Fondren, if we're not North Jackson, if we're not downtown Jackson partners, if we're not contractors, Hemp Hill or Wicker, or contractors from Brandon, then it seems like, I'm saying this after being at the site of Prado Lofts, watching black contractors line up in trucks, wave me down, one of them, and say, can you say something on there about the fact that Prado won't hire black contractors? And I laughed and said, why would someone trying to gentrify the city hire black contractors? That kind of defeats the purpose. That's an oxymoron. But I did speak about it because the brother asked me to. But we went back through how everyone else is benefiting. I could go down that line. You see on a regular basis symphonies at the park, right? Lights held up downtown. And it's not saying that you shouldn't have any of these, but you see nothing coming through these pipelines for us. And I'll say this before we move on. Mayor Horn is doing something that if a white mayor were doing this, if DePriest had won, or if a white mayor had won and was doing the same thing, only making Jackson rise for Fondren, North Jackson, a Redeemer School, and other institutions that are of private nature inside the city, and for contractors out in Madison, Ridgeland, and Brandon, and other areas. If that was what,
Yeah, I mean, if they will instantly get into defense mode. It wouldn't be a lot of going back and forth about the person and what they're doing, right? Just like the Jacksonians, every time they spend y'all tax dollars, y'all need to know that y'all 100% of the revenue in Mississippi. I mean, I don't understand why. Every time they make a deal and it ain't being meant for you, you need to say that's my money. What y'all doing with my money? That's y'all need to make it about y'all because it is about y'all.
City council doesn't even talk about the citizens. They don't even take what the citizens say into contention. I mean, into consideration. So the Pete Brown golf course was what was on there. And I know if you play there, you're happy. I mean, rest in peace, my father-in-law loved golf. And I got an affinity for golf through watching him play and the piece that he found through it. This is not an attack on golf, right? But if our children don't have a tutoring center, if they don't have a area with a fence where they can go in and we've got services for them. If they don't have
something else that the kids love. I forgot what's that place they go to and they hit stuff.
the batting cage,
Not the batting
No,
cage.
no.
Rage room.
Rage room. Oh yeah,
We only got one rage room in Jackson. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. We need more rage room. We need something that these kids can put their mind,
get some of that trauma out and some of that extra energy. Absolutely. We have no basketball rims. We have no remember, we started with the school.
Yeah.
You already shut down. This is on the hill of, and for anybody that ever says you want kids to play basketball, this is on the hill of 17 schools shut down. Our current mayor, John Horn, then as a senator, telling our then mayor the ship has sailed on those schools. There's no point in trying to fight for them, right? And now us watching Redeemer Church with an elder named Grant Callen, who is the monster behind school vouchers that attacked the public school system, and who's the ruling elder there. We see a black woman named Candace, what's her last name? I've said it enough. Candace Robbins, who was a musical director. And then in a snap, Governor Tate elects her to sit on the Mississippi Charter Authorizer Board. And then the church she goes to, Grant Callen is the ruling elder at, but they're in Jackson and Redeemer on North Side. Then they buy Chastain up. Then they beg Mississippi Association of Independent Schools, yes, the association that was created to make sure black kids and white kids didn't have to go to school together. You have to have a separate association when they ran out of the city and said, we're not going to school with those Negroes in a different way. That's who Redeemer begged to become a part of. They don't want nothing to do with this black city.
Their money.
We don't want nothing to do with this black city. We want to be part of MAIS. But you're still in Jackson.
Right. You still got them getting money.
Yeah, you're still in Jackson.
Yeah.
I wonder what type of tax incentives and tax breaks. If you look up the Redeemer development that actually purchased a lot of it, it says on paper they hold more than $1.5 million at all times. Easy, and they operate on a budget of $250,000. But we didn't realize they were operating in the background. We didn't realize that not only were they there, but that Candace Robbins, their musical instructor, was now making choices at the state level for the Mississippi Charter Authorized Board. Now, I'm not going to knock anybody, but I'm not sure what a musical director knows about running a charter authorizer board any more than what a captain over two people knows about running an entire fire force. Look at these decisions that happen only when it comes to us, our children, and our safety. When it's our safety, it's okay for Mayor Horn to take Chief Rashawn and push him from a captain. No knock to him for taking it. I'll take it and try the best. Knock to you for putting us in danger by putting someone that only had two people under them 4 steps up to fire chief. We done lost 3 fire trucks almost, millions of dollars in damage. We just lost a person. I'm not saying this is anyone's. I'm saying we don't have someone that we can ask that has the experience to answer.
At that point, it's about money.
So, but you did remember to put the Pete Brown golf course on and get you $250K for that. Kudos to you. F the children. You at least you got your $250 in Lake Caroline. Whoever over there, you want to make sure whenever they found out. Tyreek and KP keep telling him everything. What do we need? Get some cameras. KP, the way he's shifty. Tyreek's got a limp with KP. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, this is what else can you think? You didn't ask for anything for these babies. Nothing extra. They don't need nothing extra. They're good. So all the young people in Jackson, just know that your leadership thinks you're good. There's nothing you need. You're okay. No tutorials, no tutoring, no extra books, no book bag drives, nothing. You're great. We're going to go ahead and take that. And then I said last time, and we're going to move. You gave $5 million. And John, I was at the Children's Museum right after they got the $5 million, right? I go there a lot with my daughter, my youngest. I look up, I see all these important looking people that look like they were from the state. And I asked the young man, I said, who are they? He said, oh, they're here because they just got that money. $5 million and seeing which way it's going to go. And lo and behold, it was about 13 white folk. And I look up and who did I see in the middle?
Johnny Boy.
I saw old Curious Johnny. And he was moving right through there talking about 2 white guys. I know one of them from the state, and they were just talking away. And I could tell it. Well, it looked to me, I don't know if he's like some money's changing here, you know. But they were just talking. I couldn't hear him. I took a picture. Hey guys, we took a selfie together. But you know, let's see if any of that $5 million, because I'm at LaFleur every weekend, and we're never the majority. For us to be the majority of a city, and this is nothing racist. If you are the majority of that people in that city, generally speaking, you're going to make up the majority of at least 30 or 40% of the events. Something like the Children's Museum, all these babies in Jackson. Well, we know why they can't make it, right? At least our mayor should. So let's see how much of that. I'm going to say this so much, they're going to do it just to spite me, and I love it. Still a win. How much of that $5 million goes towards just busing some of these babies from South and West Jackson and their parents free of charge to the Children's Museum on the weekend so they can get a little bit of relief? Since you won't fix anything in their communities, you won't do anything but over police, you won't give these babies anything to do. You took away the skate park, you took away everything that a pavilion, performance area, you took away anything they could possibly do. So let's see if that $5 million goes to the Madison babies, the Ridgeland babies, and all these babies coming from all through Mississippi. If even 50,000 that goes to, what is that, Klein Tours buses, you can sure hire them to start a charter school going. Let's see if you can pay them some money to take some of our babies and their parents to the museum every weekend into LaFleur's Bluff, since they're getting $13 million of these babies' money. Because John Horn, you said we got 27 for Jackson, right? Right? So that $13 million you gave to LaFleur's is those babies' money. So let's see how much of that $18 million helps those children get out there to use it. Cowards, that's the game. They'll give $18 million knowing our babies can't make it there. You're a piece of garbage. I tell you that to your face, and I have. You know that. That's why you don't see people running up on me anything other than just go ahead and swing, because you already know how I feel, and I done told it to your face. I don't wait to get behind you. Y'all are cowards. Y'all are cowards. These babies running around looking for something to do. They just look like skeletons when you ride by these neighborhoods. You don't even try to look at them. Oh, they'll be gone soon. I'm trying to get Rebelwood shut down. This is too much shame, man. You can go look at some of them. They take reroutes. So I'm going to move off of it, but somehow you got to understand, these aren't leaders and giants you're looking at. They just got nice suits and nice cars. That APR drop, that's it.
You said APR.
Yeah, they can afford it. You know, the credit. They used to redline us. They let the good Negroes get it now. And then all of us can get it because of the progress we made. So now you can't see the mixing. Before, you could watch the Negro with a Cadillac and say, now, where you get that from? Because no one else has it. Now we've made so much progress, you can't see them sneaking in between. Because you and I can get the same thing with our hard work and with pulling our money in our community. So we buy a nice car. They buy a nice car. They sitting there with us like they want good for our community. I just want you to have what I have. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. So anyways, yeah, $250 for the golf course. I'll say that one more time. And if you play golf, if your uncle play golf, look at him real funny next time you see him. You know, especially if you're a JSU student or something, say, Uncle, you weren't gonna say nothing, you gonna get your golf course though, weren't you? You know, that's how we make sure we hold our people accountable. And if you know folks in Lake Carolina that were going for that 100,000, ask them, what was you worried about? Right? Because maybe you need to know if you live around there. Because now that we start to learn about what that administration is doing, and that's why Terry Woops is so quiet. People are saying, I just noticed that really talking. Man, Horner have to talk, the city council has to talk. Sometimes you forget that he's part of the staff. Him and Gibbs are part of the staff until they write on cardboards and stuff and start marching. You forget they're being part of the staff. Yeah. That quietness is very suspicious, right?
They took y'all money from y'all, huh?
Yeah. They good at that. They good. And listen, I don't know. You can't take my money and punk me. I'm not saying you can't take my money. I'm not the strongest guy or the toughest guy in the world. You may take it from me, but you're not going to walk by and now smile at me. No, man, you have to take the other $2 for it. You ain't going to make me smile while it's gone. So they didn't get their $250. Nope. That's what Stokes does, right? Let's do that. You didn't get your, and I promise you, I'm so happy. And if you were a good person about to play golf, then go teach a young man or woman how to budget, maybe, right? How to dress right, and just talk to them. You don't have to know them. Walk by and they ask you to buy them a Lucy or something, and ask them, well, you going to let me work with you every once a week on how to dress right and get a job? You'll be surprised at how they respond, because I've done it. He's done it. We've done it. You'll be surprised, right? So, you need to do something other than golf. Go help one of these children in Jackson. Go pick up some trash, right? And if you don't have, you're not getting your cameras over there in Lake Caroline, just connect with the people in the community. I promise you won't need cameras. That won't be what's on top of your list is cameras over everything else our children need.
Speaking of taking money,
your boy, I needed that. I was gonna keep going down that slide.
You good? They love taking money out of Jackson or stuff that represent Jackson. So y'all Governor Tate Reeves, he just removed $500,000.
Relationships. Go ahead.
He removed $500,000 that would have gone toward the infrastructure upgrades at the Jackson Mega Wallace Airport. At the same time, the bill includes funding for other airport-related projects, including $800,000 for the Golden Triangle Regional Airport, $400,000 for the Meridian Authority Airport, and $130,000 for a water line project tied to the, I don't know how to say this, Cachisco, Atala County Airport.
See, I stay quiet. I'm tired of you pulling me down with you. There's always something neither of us can pronounce. Yeah. And then we both look like we're okay. Let me see. Let me try it at least. I ain't got too much. Where's it at?
Man, try to pronounce it.
Kosciuszko. And I know that close. That's not it. I still know that
Kosciuszko.
Yeah, I think that it was a bit. I might have won the hit comment. God, I wasn't nowhere close to Kosciuszko. Come on, KP. You should have shamed them, man. Well, I had to blame. I'm just messing with you. I knew that was going to happen eventually at this, but yeah, go ahead. No, finish reading that. I'm sorry, KP. Because, you know, I got something to say.
That was, they were taking 130. They was authority that he was taking money from the Kosciuszko Atala County Airport. So he's vetoing, I don't know, it's a total of almost 300 million.
Governor Tate doesn't even pretend, you all.
3 million?
Yeah, he doesn't even pretend. I'll go read the article. What's the article title, KP? It was Governor Tate Reeves.
Governor Tate Reeves vetoed Jackson Airport fund as others funded.
But go veto. So so let's look at this. We're in our last landing zone here. So when Mayor Lumumba was in office, right? You remember they had the back and forth, right? I think Mayor Lumumba said something to him like, "I don't argue, I teach." You know, he said, and that's why they're trying to put him in jail, probably right there, because they had a war of words, and Tate Reeves didn't know how to come back. But that's not what we're talking about. Tate Reeves said it's a horrible day to be in Jackson. You'll remember he would not come to Jackson, and not just because he wasn't welcomed and he knew it, right? Now he was fighting just to get the mayor before to not talk about him. That was the fight that governor had. He had no hopes of getting the Water Authority bill through in real time. They would try haphazardly, you know, in them 8 years, tried a little bit, but the protests would erupt, you know, somehow folks would know everywhere. Now, Mayor Horn comes in. Now, let me tell you how Tate is not even playing with Horn and these black folk in the city council right now. Even after they let the Water Authority bill flow all the way through to the end, they let us get screwed. They let the increase go through. Tate said they should have spent their own money on upgrades instead of using funds to fight us in an effort to stop a takeover of the airport.
That's what it say on there.
That's what Tate said. The governor criticized airport managers, saying after he took the $500,000, like, "Oh, you thought you gave me that water? Not enough." The governor criticized airport managers, saying they should have spent their own money on upgrades that they're asking for instead of trying to sue us. How gangster is that? How gangster is that? This is John Horn's relationship across the aisle. Remember when he came in office, what Tate said? "I think I could work with him, y'all." I'm sorry, you got to go look at these. You can't make this stuff up. Tate didn't even wait for him to get into the city hall. Soon as he saw he was at home, he was looking. Who won, Horn? I can work with him. But you want to hear what his plan is, Tate? No, I know what it is. That's why the Northside Sun said put Horn in office, to the young man's point. So anyways, Governor Reeves comes out immediately and says, "I can work with him." Now you see what he didn't like, I think, was Mayor Horn saying anything about the Water Authority or at all. You know how he's trying to pretend he's angry? He's walking around. He does everything. He literally is the one that told us to vote for the thing. Now he's like, "I thought he was my friend like Hennepin. They all betrayed me." You know, so it's like we losing because either he genuinely thinks these people are his friend, in which case you done elected a lunatic, if that's the case. Because that's lunacy in the South. In Mississippi, for a black man who had a father that was in the labor, I'm going to give you the real, I'm going to give you the bones of the chicken. For a black man that had a father as active as Horn's father in the labor union at a time when you get shot in the face as a black man in the labor union. Come on. You're going to pretend a man don't know what's going on? That's like Stokes trying to make y'all think he's old, just dancing in the street, and the man got a degree from Thurgood Marshall College. Man can practice law and has done it. This is that old shuck and jive and make you believe I'm stupid while I laugh all the way to the bank. That's why I jump out of a car and pop my booty, because there's nothing for me to be clown. I'm playing the clown every day anyways when I say hog-headed bastard and tell you to throw rocks at the police, knowing they'll shoot you so quick, boy, it ain't even funny. Mississippi police are different. You could do yoga on the bridge and get shot. But he's telling you to throw rocks over a bridge at the police. That's agent talk. That's snitch talk. I come from the movement. Every movement. SCLC, all of them said the same thing. Anybody to tell you to run up on the police with a gun,
I'm gonna watch you crash out, but I'm gonna stand back.
He at home on his beach chair in front of his house giving a damn press conference talking about, go down there and throw rocks at him. And then text me, tell me how it goes. Then I'll get mad at them for shooting you, I promise. That's what he's gonna tell you to do, because he needs something to do. Man doesn't even do campaign signs. He just either reuses the graffiti ones from last year or tells some little shorties, do a new one. Here go a marker. I hope if we say it enough, somebody will say, yeah, the emperor doesn't have clothes on. So yeah, the mayor was very direct. The governor was very direct. Horn, you tried to put it out on a stroll and get half for it. I didn't like when you did that early on. You tried to sneak it in August and offer a public partner privateship. So when the mayor came in, he kept saying something for you suckers with degrees, right? I'm sorry, I've been a sucker. For you suckers with degrees, he kept saying to you, I'm looking to invest in private partnerships, right? That was his stake in the ground to say, I tried. knowing the state wasn't going with no private partnership. He knew they wanted it all. He'd been talking to them for 30, 40 years about what they wanted. He said, go look it up, Google, John Horn, senator then, says the state's hollowing out Jackson. So when he was a senator, he knew the state wanted Jackson hollowed out.
Yeah.
Now he making deals with the same ones he said when it was his friends were hollowing Jackson out. Make it make sense. How are you making deals with the people you just said for 30 years were trying to hollow us out? He's playing theater, and that's his major. We're not playing with you. Just like Ronald Reagan. He's an actor in real life. He's playing it out in front of you.
Yeah.
He'd probably go home and take off his outfit. Take my outfit off, honey. That's not an outfit. That's a suit. You're a mayor, man. This is crazy. It's like The Simpsons, but it's not funny because it's happening to us. Your children, our elderly, calling and crying on the phone because they don't have any water on bed rest. Because when Ted Hennepin says, y'all don't want to pay your bills, all your leaders just sit quietly and look for the next place to park their car. Let me check my phone and see if they gave my car a ticket. So, our folks are getting bullied right in front of us. I made that comment. I don't understand. And every day I don't understand how you go home to your wife and walk in with that. You know how you walk in and it's certain, I know I'm about to put my arm around you. I know, come here. I know they be skittish as hell. Hey, babe, they be testing the temperature and whatnot. Hey, how are you? You see the news today? Got to. We listen to radio? I'm gone. I'm going to a hotel. You listen to that and make it make sense. I know you're not letting me in the room. Yeah, this is where we're at. How can you respect men like this? Go down swinging for the love of God. And now, let's close it with what we'll pick it up with tomorrow. Your city council.
You want that Metro Water?
The Metro Water. So they told us, let's find, real quick, and it's boom, boom, boom. Mayor Horn said that the water authority is the best deal for us. The same water authority every mayor said no to. He's the Donald Trump going into Iran. Every other president said, I won't do it. Donald said, I will. And Trump said, so will I, Donald. All of his policies are far right. He got a picture, that Donald picture when he's a Jesus touching the man's head. I bet you Horn has that up at his home. I'm saying it. I'll take it. The young man didn't say it. I said it. I think he's got it up at his house. Brushes his teeth with it in the morning and salutes it. Says, I'm going to make sure they understand who I am, Trump. His policies, you all. So he told us it was the best deal. He told us that we would get $200 million in debt shifted with it. Now they wrote into the bill that it doesn't cover that $200 million. He told us we would have a majority. They wrote in the bill and took us all the way down to 3 seats. So now we're a minority over our own water source. And then they got mum and quiet. After they missed the deadline to stop the $20 million increase yearly, which is 12% for us, they got quiet. And then the next thing you saw, they were throwing candy. John Holmes was dressed in a green leprechaun suit, throwing candy out at the parade while we're waiting to find out what they're going to do to fight this takeover. Who else was out there doing things?
Stokes. Remember?
Stokes was shouting stuff. But what was that? The Jungle Tail, Baloo. Stokes was out there shaking it like Baloo. And if you remember that in my age, you remember what I'm talking about. And then we find out, y'all, while you shaking like Baloo and while you throwing candy, the deadline passed.
Ugh.
I may be making jokes, but it's not funny. And everybody pointed at everybody. It became who's on first. Grown men, 60 years old, that went to West Point. Grown men that were in the Navy. Women that ran real estate firms. Lawyers said, I didn't know, and Johnny didn't tell me, and neither did the lawyer. They'll just take us for anything. And then after all of that, we have a member of the previous administration come on, and we talk about the fact that once the governor put it into law, which he did, they still got to accept the lease. Your city council still has to accept the lease from this water authority. So they can still say no. Man, what does that show? I wish I had a heart. What is it? What was it? With Dorothy and the lion and the Tin Man?
Oh, the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz, excuse me. That's what we need, a real live Wizard of Oz moment where someone can swoop into our mayor, swoop into our city council, swoop into our religious leaders, and put a heart in them. And just find out, so this is not a joke, because in the movie, if you remember, we need it done quickly. We don't have time for them to go out there and really do something in the world to become stronger. We need the Wizard of Oz, the Wizard of Jackson to come in and to stick a heart in their chest, a heart that actually beats, it could do something. That your wife and your husband can look at you and have some respect for you, and these children can listen to you. Because right now you're their whore and they're pimping you around while we lose everything.
Just giving it out.
Just giving it out. They don't care. And if you don't like the word whore, then go look at that legislative session. If we're not being whored, then why is golf in some cameras for Lake Caroline and where Tier Wilson lives, because you in the public eye, why are those the only thing that we know about? That's the only thing you asking for. Make it make sense, Jackson. Make sense, Mississippi. You got a Stokes, Mississippi, Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, New York, Boston, Atlanta. You got a Mayor Horn who folks don't understand why this city's not getting forward, and he done been sitting in there for a long time. Throw into our chat who your Mayor Horn is. Throw in who your Stokes is. Throw in who your weak-backed men that sit amongst the decision makers and say nothing while your whole community gets insulted. Then come home and tell you don't vote. That's why we're in this situation. Then tell you the young people shoot, and that's why we're in this situation. No, that's not why we're in this situation. I'm going to leave it there. Insults never needed when the proof is right in front of you. And emotions are never needed to flow over. The facts are enough. Because I believe you, my people, are as intelligent as the rest of anybody. Just like before I knew better, I didn't do better. But once we understand what's happening, we can hold these folks accountable.
Yeah.
Any last words, young man?
I mean, we on the last words already? Oh, yeah. Well, just thinking of John Horn and Stone Cold, every time you ask him a question, he go, what? What?
Yeah, Stone Cold mixed with Lil Jon. Yeah. What? Yeah.
What?
He ain't saying nothing. He's just yelling every time you say, well, I mean, if you think about the incorrigibles and the metrics that we look at, and he's not saying anything to you. And this goes back to his inauguration night. His inauguration night, you got to see. If you really want to know after everything we talk about, who's benefiting with Mayor Horn in office, go look at the stage on his inauguration night. Gabriel Prater was up there watching the ticket with him, holding the table like, oh, I've been holding on this for 4 years, trying to wait for Lake Caroline work to get done. Lumumba wouldn't do any of it. I can't wait. Boom. He was happy. He was standing up there with Crudup, or was that Gibbs? He was standing up there with
who?
One of his administration. It doesn't matter, but because they both on there. You look up there. He was up there with Surinder Singh, the Patels, the Indian community. They are very strong in Madison and which I wonder why they were up there. But he was up there with them. They're getting off well. They're getting off well. I noticed there wasn't too many of us outside of his family up there, African American wise. Wasn't too many folks up there outside of.
I just want to ask them which one looked more difficult for this stuff to happen, the previous mayor or now? Like, was it easy for all this stuff to happen when the previous mayor was elected?
You can play that song, and they know, they know now. I'm not laughing at you; it's happening to all of us. I mean, but they know, don't you? I bet you do. And you feel like a fool when people talking about him wearing his open shirt with a chain.
How many people voted?
18%.
18%. I bet you it was more now.
I wish that I'd have done more. I tell you, I wish I had to talk to more people. I mean, we were out there.
Oh, we did.
Just telling people to vote, not who to vote for. Mind you,
we was boots on the ground,
putting facts out there and saying vote. I mean, we tell people who to vote for, but what the point is,
we told them why they should vote.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last thing that I'm gonna mention very quickly, when you look at the irony of everything that's being done to us, and hopefully, if we keep showing you this naked mayor and naked city council, then their genitals don't have to keep hitting you in your face and pissing down, pee dripping down your shoulders and boo-boo all up in your cereal in the morning. This is what I deal with in Jackson. If you don't care about all the stuff we losing, it makes me sick to my stomach when I have to drive by all these folks winning and go drive to all these children and adults losing, right? Makes me sick, right? But the homeless drop-off ban, look at the irony of that. So the city council, these clowns decide now to put a homeless drop-off ban in effect. They done shipped all the imported homeless people out.
Who was dropping them out before?
Pearl. On TV. So all those years, when the mayor was talking about the homeless, Pearl dropping off homeless, you call him a dope fiend. Stokes, that's how you see who stopped your progress, right? The trash thing. I want Waste Management, the big white company that builds private jails. Waste Management is owned basically by BlackRock and Vanguard. They spend together like 200 trillion on building private jails, and you know what comes with that? Lobbying for your babies to go in them. And to deport and to lock people up. And that's who Stokes, Gibbs, and Hartley, Banks now and then, and I didn't really know what side he wanted to be on, but today, Tuesday I'm there, Wednesday I'm there. That's who they were rooting for in front of you. Meanwhile, Richards Disposal is a black company owned by a black man that actually worked on them little cars that drove around on the moon, was one of the first black people to work on there. On those things back when he was working in the science field. White, black, living in the New Orleans neighborhood, give 2 or 3 scholarships for black kids to go to school every year. I don't care whether I don't care if you're from Tallahassee. Before I'm gonna give a white supremacist that builds jails money, I'm gonna give a black man from damn Hawaii money. But your city council really got out there. I remember Stokes he had that beach chair he always bring out so he could save money. It's ridiculous, just like his campaign signs. He uses a beach chair, and he tells the newspaper to come to him. My legs hurt, come to me. Every time your ankle's twisted. Anyways, he was doing one of his beach chair interviews, and the first thing, now we see it twist around, and I know, young man.
No, go ahead.
No, I seen it coming. So when you see our studio, you can see the door start to crack. And as we get close, I'll pray for a little extra time and I see that door crack. So we've got to wind it, but I'm being serious. Go look at that homeless drop-off ban that was just put into effect and look at the irony of the fact that I know for a fact homeless folks have told me that they've been moved into Pearl and dropped off in Rankin County when they're picked up. And then you have a native homeless population. I'm going to say this quickly. It's around 300 people make up the native Jackson homeless population. I'm not saying that's it because every one of them count. But the little house plan would have put 60 families into houses. The mayor's administration scrapped that, took that 2.9 million, and they're paying a firm to do a study to see what they should do about it. This is how the situation gets worse. So when you do things like this, now you want a homeless ban. You know why you want a homeless ban now? To make sure nobody can bring any black folk from Cleveland or from Lexington or from the Delta when a plant shuts down and they need some services. Make sure you can't bring somebody in here to get help. Because you know what that means, right? If you're a nonprofit organization and you bump into somebody that needs help and you bring them back to Jackson with you and say, man, I know some people at Stupa. I'm going to take you over there and get you some help. Soon as they get out your car, they can lock you up because you just dropped them off inside Jackson. These are the laws they put in. So go to our website. We're going to put up more about that. We'll be right back here at We Believe Digital, 5:30, same place, same time, for my esteemed co-host,
Keanu Perry.
and myself, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab, for We Believe Digital. Continue to make it make sense, Jackson. We love you and we're out.